Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Barbara Maosh and my partner is Edward Mushi. And today we have been joined by a lovely guest who is going to guide us through the field of communications and PR and the issues affecting these particular fields in Kenya today. Joining us today is our lovely guest, Dr. Hissa, who is the PR and Communications Manager at National Social Security Fund in Kenya. Thank you so much for joining us. And to start off, I'd like to hear from your view, what is PR in Kenya?
Okay, PR in Kenya is an old practice which started way back in 1970. It wasn't very organized, not very structured like it is today. Because those days, people who are doing PR are just the handsome young man, the talkative, beautiful lady,
Appealing to the eye.
yes, and who could talk to people. But it has evolved to today where we have a body that regulates public relations in this country, which is the Public Relations Society of Kenya PRSK, which is a membership by subscription by all professional PR practitioners in this country. So which means PR today is very structured, and most job adverts, most organizations are asking, when you're applying for a PR job, you must be a member of the PRSK. And that means that organizations have recognized the role of public relations and communication in their day-to-day activities. As you know, PR in itself is that establishing and maintaining good relationship between an organization and its stakeholders. So this is why now PR is more vibrant, it's more appealing as a career, and it's more professional in what happens. And remember, today we're moving from the older media way of communicating to the new media. And PR is very vibrant in terms of social media and digital media, digital member education, stakeholder engagement, relationship management, and many other activities that are being driven on the new media. And the new media is as vibrant as PR. It's been called also to match the vibrancy in the field.
Alright. So you've talked about where PR started, and that is in the 1970s. You mentioned that it wasn't really structured properly and that there is an improvement. So in the coming years, where do you see PR in 5 to 10 years?
Barbara, one of the things that you need to know is that PR is more vibrant today. Why? Because PR wasn't a tradable profession in any university.
Not a course.
Earlier, it wasn't a course in any university. Actually, PR started in Daystar in 1985. Yes. But today, many universities are offering PR. PR is becoming more vibrant, it's becoming more important, it's more structured and more professional as we move forward. The only thing I can promise is going to change is the way information is driven or passed on, the speed at which PR information is packaged and then transmitted and responded to. That's one of the things that's going to change. That one I can promise. With the technology. But technology is now driving PR. It's now PR-driven technology. And remember, in this country, we have 2 categories of PR. There is in-house PR and there is agency PR. So the agency PR is where organizations that deal with the PR agents have their own team that are hired by organizations to do their PR on their behalf for a fee, maybe a retainer or on-in basis. But the in-house PR, these are employees of an organization that are employed to do PR work. So there are these 2 major categories of PR that's being practiced in this country today. And remember, the third one is coming. The third one is the bloggers. People who are just who are thriving on followers, people who are thriving on social media to create their own niche in PR.
And they are very powerful.
They're very powerful. For example, in my organization, I work at the NSSF. I have enlisted SOC analyst, which is not a PR agency, but it's just a social media vibrant entity. Tuko News is a vibrant online entity, news entity. So I am using those categories to boost my visibility in PR, and yet they are not PR agencies, and neither are they inside.
So, what is a typical day for you in the world of PR, and what do you normally do during that particular day?
Yeah, thank you very much, Edward. And one of the things that I can tell you is that as a PR practitioner, you have to do things in a planned way. And planning is very key in executing your activities, because for me, a typical day in PR, I will tell you that I best my daily activities on my plan. I have an annual work plan in my department, and out of this annual work plan, I'm able to derive work activities for the quarter, for the month, for the week, and daily for everybody. Because for me, generally, I do mostly supervision. And as I do supervision generally, I have officers who I have assigned out of the annual work plan. Because there's an officer who deals with social media. Social media, there is Facebook, there is Twitter. There's another one who does Instagram, and there does info, this intra-platform that we use to communicate with our customers. So out of that, I'm able to look at my chart to see the activities that are going on in terms of what the team is doing, depending on the activity on our work plan. Because in the work plan, that is driven by the policies we have, because we have the communication policy, we have the crisis communication policy, we have the social media communication guidelines, we have like event planning guidelines, we have CSR policy. So out of all those activities, we check on each day what are we supposed to do. But generally, the first thing I have to do is that I have to check and see what the media has said about us in the morning. That is also based on what we call social media listening. You want to see what social media has said about you, the old media, that's newspapers, radio and TV. Everyone has said anything that warrants our response. We check what customers have chatted us on Facebook, on Twitter, so that we can see what is worth responding to, and what we think, that tells us what our customers think about us and our services. So when we do that, it helps us to now strategize, emphasize, and execute every media activity or any PR activity that we've lined up. Because one of the things we do what we call media tonality. And media tonality, Edward, means that we are looking at what the media, the negatives, the positives, and the neutrals, the media has said about us
on a daily basis.
On a daily basis.
Okay.
But what we do is that we check on a daily basis, put them together, and then we measure the media tonality at the end of the month. For example, there's a scientific way you can calculate to know the percentages of what the media has said about you. For example, if the media has said 20 positives in a month, it tells you that you will take 20 times positives you have been talked about times the 30 days period, divided by 100, then you get the percentage of the positive media tonality that you have received during that period. If the negatives were about 10, you take 10 times 30 divided by 100, you get the percentage of what negative you have. But going by the media tonality, you'll be able to re-strategize and come up with new strategies to deal with areas where you are lacking in terms of communication.
So for young PR practitioner who has just finished college recently, where would you advise them to begin?
Don't wait until you graduate. You better start today.
Okay.
For example, the church you go to, do you do any PR? Get to a PR profession. Do you do that? Do you volunteer? Because the aspect of volunteering in whatever you do in any profession will be plus on your CV.
Yeah.
It will show if you come for an interview. I'll know this is a person who is willing to go out of their way to do
Something.
this because it is a passion to them. Number two is that do not look at being employed, do not look at starting an organization. You can start being an influencer now. In PR field, yeah.
The
So
fact
you
that
don't have to wait.
The fact that that is an option really shows the power of social media and technology. The fact that I can be an influencer and succeed.
Like you talked about, I talked about the issue of PR. PR, the basics of PR might not change very fast.
Yeah.
But the technology that pushes PR is the one that is moving very fast. It's going to change, it's going to demand. Actually, the technology is going to dictate the direction of PR in this country and any other profession. So we have to be allied to technology and take advantage of technology to ensure that we are pushing PR messages, PR information, and interacting with the publics of concern using technology. Because most people say 60% of Kenyans own a smartphone, and this is the platform where people are exchanging information very freely, and this is where you get these people. So because of technology, we have to shape even the way we do our PR messages. We have to be tailor-made to a certain group. Messages for people in Coast, not messages for people in Migori. Yeah, thank you very much, Barbara and Edward, for hosting me in this interview. One of the things I need to tell you is that you need to start practicing PR. Not wait to be employed. Be creative enough and keep your tabs on the happenings in the PR world, and especially the technology changes. If you do not keep your tabs on the technological evolution and PR, non-PR professionals will take your jobs. That's my answer.
Thank you, sir.
And that's it. I guess we have a different perspective of PR brought by Dr. Kisa. Thank you for joining us throughout this whole thing. Me and Barbara are very grateful for having enlightened us on what PR is all about. We hope to see you again next time.